All right, today I wanted to bring a pretty old um, recording of a Wingspan game that I played. I haven't been playing a lot of Wingspan recently, but I thought it'd be fun to just kind of jump back into a game I played a while ago and see what happened, see how much I can remember, and how fresh the game knowledge is, or if I'm washed up. We'll see. All right, so is there not a keyboard shortcut for hitting next? There totally isn't. Dang. Okay. Um, that was already something I probably should not have skipped. So, what I remember with Pileated Woodpecker, this card is very, very good. Especially if early you can have one of a Cavity Nest while other people do not. Super strong. Keeping a wetland card, very good, so you can draw more cards early. The two most important things you're going to do early are draw cards and get resources, with drawing cards often being even more important than getting resources. But if you have a resource engine, that can be really good too. Um, Maybe does Snow Egret match a goal? No, the first goal is around grasslands birds. But I do pick this wetland scientist habitat. Pretty easy to hit the 3-point on this, and depending on how the game goes, you can often hit the 7-point as well. Pretty safe one to pick. What did I ended up discarding? I'll check the log. Canada Goose, pretty worthless. Um, this Raven, I can't remember what it's called. But he's the one that lets you lay extra eggs in response to your opponent egg laying actions. Not good early, but can be good later. So I just decided it's not worth picking. I'd rather have the extra resources because I do have 3 resources to spend already just between these guys. Um, yeah, I'll assume that was smart on my end. Seems like I can at least come up with some good post-hoc rationalization for why I did it. And let's see what I start doing. Why did I keep a mouse? I assume it's something to do with this. Yeah, it definitely is. So, yep, I know what I'm thinking now. So this woodpecker will let me lay extra eggs in tandem with this owl. And so I think my first few turns, really a good tip for this game, is you want to plan out your first few turns during the discard. And so since this is already public info when you're choosing what to discard and what to keep, my plan is I am going to woodpecker, lay eggs. Actually, I'll probably just draw this owl first. I don't think I'm going to get greedy. So I'll probably just do a draw, grab the owl, um, play both owl and woodpecker, and then get resources while also laying eggs. It also plays towards this second goal, and then I can go straight into a blue card while drawing 2, spending the eggs that I have. And so I'm kind of maximizing the efficiency. Other than this first card draw, I'm really maximizing the efficiency of my actions. I don't actually even need to lay eggs now that I think about this more. Right? I can play woodpecker, and instead of laying 2 eggs, I can grab a resource and lay 1 egg, and then play the owl. Maybe if somebody else has a cavity nest, I'll play it differently. But anyway, let's jump right into it. I've kind of probably spoiled the thunder, but indeed, yes, I draw the owl first, then immediately replaced. Don't really care too much about that lark. Red is going to play hawk in his grassland. Typically, playing things in your grassland early is a bad idea. You know, eggs don't do anything early; they only do things late. Oh well, in mid game to play extra birds. Purple undoes. Purple's also playing a bird. Chooses to play Carolina Wren. This is an excellent first play because you immediately get more cards, which gives you more info about what you actually want to do. I assume that they will drop both of those from the deck, but there's some argument to pick up this catbird as it is very good later in the game. Interesting. Takes, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Purple Gallinual? Gallinual? That's a questionable decision. I don't really know why you'd want that early. And it does take the catbird. The catbird makes sense. Maybe Jim's already got some really good stuff in hand and wants to pick for the late game now. That could be. Again, not all that impressed. Things that can only be playing the grasslands, not great early. So I'm assuming I'm going to play my woodpecker, like we discussed last turn. Indeed, woodpecker goes into the forest. Yeah, forest. Black Tern. That's an excellent card early. Anything with wild nests, super good early and cheap. super good. Gets you extra cards from the deck, also super good. This is a card you want to look out for early. Extra card draw is so good early in this game. Jim lays some eggs, gearing up to play a second bird in his forest, surely, so that he can get to that 2 resource threshold, which is huge. So given Jim does have a cavity nest, but regardless, as does Red. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. CG. I could call them CG. That's not bad. But I still make the choice that I would rather have 1 resource than a second egg, which it's a bit questionable. I'm not sure if I agree with that in retrospect, but that is what I decide to do. So my opponents now also get some eggs, which is actually huge for CG. Because CG also otherwise probably would have needed to spend an action getting an egg. Maybe I've decided early in this game that I'm less worried about CG than I am about Jim, and Jim already spent his egg laying action, so Jim's not gaining anything. Starting with Swanson's Hawk in the grassland sort of indicates somebody who's probably a bit newer to the game, which means that I don't need to be quite as concerned as my main competition, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. CG draws some cards, definitely a good decision. They should definitely be spending an egg as well to draw an extra card. Draws a bird card, removes an egg. Yep, good call. Let's see, Jim. What's Jim going to do? Plays Chickadee in the forest. Yeah, so as we thought, laying some eggs to play a second forest card. So that's excellent for Jim. Chickadee is a pretty good early card. You can, over the course of the game, you're going to use this ability a lot and rack up a decent amount of points. I definitely overlooked this card early in my Wingspan playing days, but do not underestimate how many points you can get from an early Chickadee. Okay, so now clearly I'm going to play my Owl, so I can also get to that 2 resource threshold in the forest. Indeed. And now I am going to be laying 2 eggs from each of my forest actions in addition to getting 2 resources, which is, quite frankly, incredibly strong. In addition to potentially earning an extra point. Though the Owl, you don't expect the Owl ability to go off very much. We're mostly just playing this Owl because it's A, cheap, and B, 4-point base, which is nice. It also, works towards the second goal of cavity nests. All right, so CG decides to lay eggs. And then also hunts successfully for a bonus point. Makes sense since they're out of eggs. They're probably looking to draw more cards, but I am about to give them additional eggs as well. Jim grabs some resources, a fish and a grain. I think we talked on the first turn about how Jim decided to grab some expensive cards from the row. So we can now see why Jim decided to do that. He has an early engine for getting a lot of resources and needs things to spend those resources on, which is exactly what he grabbed on that first turn using Carolina Wren. So that now makes sense in retrospect. So now I will start to grab some resources since I'm completely out. Okay, I lied. I'm going to play Snowy Egret first. Honestly, I'm not quite sure why. Probably because I don't like the resource pool. Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't think that makes sense. I think maybe I should have grabbed the fish. Maybe I wanted to pass the resource pool to Jim, who probably has things here that he just doesn't want. Not sure. Anyway, we'll continue. It's not a hugely important decision. I just feel like grabbing resources first might have made more sense, and then I could spend the fish instead of the worm, with a fish being generally less valuable than the worm for most birds that I'd want to play. Okay, CG continues to stack up grassland, definitely winning this first goal, but the long-term value of filling that grassland very questionable. On to Jim. Jim does take the fish out of the feeder, so that decision to maybe force Jim to take a resource that he may not want as much, perhaps paying off. Again, lots of questions there, but perhaps that's what's going on. I guess the other thing being, after I take 2 resources, I want a maximum number of resources outside the pool to increase the odds that my owl is going to succeed. So now I'm sure I'll take resources because I don't have any eggs. And so I want to get eggs out there so that my snowy egret will trigger additional draws when I do that wetlands action. I get lucky. Owl gets a point. That's great. Love to see that. And then everybody gets their eggs, since everybody already has a cavity nest. But I'm getting 2 eggs. My opponents are getting 1 egg. I'm getting 2 eggs. That is a trade that we are okay making. All right, on to CG. CG picks resources. Very inefficient, since no birds. You hate when you have to use an action with no birds. Typically at the start of the game, you'll have to do it at least once, but minimize how much you need to do that. See, Jim is going to get some more resources. Takes those berries. I think he had that bird I couldn't pronounce, who definitely cost some berries, so that makes sense. Stacking up the cash on his chickadee. And back to me. So now I assume that I will be drawing some cards, especially given there are 3 out of the pool, so my chances of my egret succeeding are reasonably high. It's a great card. I've got a lot of resource generation, so point bombs are something I'm definitely looking for. And then I will certainly discard to draw again. Okay, so this is a bit. Let's see. How many more actions are in this round? What are we on? We're on round. I haven't played this game in so long that I'm forgetting how to check how many actions we have left. Is it these 3? In any case, I believe that there's another action in this round. Yes, there's a few more. And so I think my plan is to be able to play this sparrow so that I'm at least included on the goal. That's what I'm seeing, but we'll see. The sparrow not particularly good, but later in the game certainly leads to some extra points, which is good. CG decides to draw that black-pilled magpie. Interesting. And drawing some more cards, which you, of course, need to be doing to find the best birds. I actually quite like this card that he discarded, the Bob White. I'm surprised at that. This is an incredibly efficient card. But CG is definitely short on resources, so perhaps a little beyond his reach to be able to play. So we've got Jim. Jim is also playing into the grassland so that he doesn't completely lose out on the goal. But he is able to play 2 things in 1 action with the help of his house wren. So it looks like I am going to be starved out of any points for this goal. But that's okay. It's only 1 point, so not a big deal. The goals get more important as the game goes on. All right. And he's also setting up that catbird for some kind of combo later in the game where he can double up on an ability in the grassland. So given playing in the grassland no longer helps me for the goal, I'm just going to draw some more cards. This red-billed woodpecker is excellent, I would say. And so I'm thinking at this point I can just fill up my forest and get to that 3 resource threshold, which is huge. So I grab juniper titmouse as well. These are also crucially both cavity nests, so my chances of winning the goal for round 2 is extremely high at this point. Get lucky again on the resource roll for my egret. Love to see that. CG playing Savannah Sparrow in the grassland. He's actually at a tie with Jim, so it makes sense. He wants to beat him. However, very inefficient, wasting the playability on his sparrow. Hate to see that. Jim grabs some more resources, getting up to 3 fish. That forecasts a few specific birds. Some point bombs for sure. Trying to remember what that's called. It's I don't remember. Anyway, it's been too long. All right. So there we go. Round 1 over. No points for me. It's okay. Not a big deal. Plenty of game left. And I feel like my My board is pretty good for driving a point engine. So I am feeling pretty good about where I'm at in this game. So CG now plays first, lays some eggs. I think CG's kind of continuing to show being a little new at this game. There's not really any point. I guess he's out of eggs. Nah, I'm being overly harsh. So he does need eggs so that he can get extra draws, and he didn't have any eggs. So that's a perfectly fine action. I should be less judgmental. So on to Jim. Take some more resources. Did he end up playing? He did not. So the last card in his hand is not a fish-heavy bird. I think he's maybe just hoping to hit one of those later in the game. We will see. On to me, I will certainly take resources since I'm out, I think. Yep. Out of eggs, that is. I'm not out of resources. Don't get lucky this time, that's okay. But I have replenished my eggs. I suspect I'm looking to pick up this quail, as the quail can be a lot of points late game, giving you extra eggs and plenty of slots for eggs as well. CG, again taking an empty forest action. You hate to see that. CG really needs to get something in that forest to take advantage of some bird powers. And there we go. That's that last expensive bird, the purple Galunul, which means that he can now draw cards with draw some additional cards by spending eggs, which he certainly wants to be doing. So I do believe that I will be drawing if I'm guessing this turn. Nope. I guess not. I guess we have decided we're going to keep the resource engine going. So maybe I don't care as much about that quail as I think in retrospect that I did. CG takes one food again. Oof. It's very, very inefficient turns. You hate to see that. You do not want to pick one food at a time, comparing to me and Jim, who take 2 food at a time plus additional benefits. You know, effectively one of my turns is worth like 3 or 4 of CG's when he takes one food like that. Not a position you want to be in. Jim getting 2 draws now that he has that that bird in the wetlands. I suspect he will use the power as well to draw an additional card. Nope, decides not to. Okay. I guess everybody's a little short on cards this game, so typically you want to use symmetrical powers. You want to use when somebody else has a huge surplus of that resource already. So the extra resource you get is actually more meaningful than it is to that other person who already has a surplus. That's how you want to think about it. So now I will draw. Oh yeah, okay. So the mallard pops up. Makes sense. Gets me some extra draws, and I do want to get this goal. So mallard fits towards the goal, and yeah. I guess the other thing I'm looking for with filling up my forest is the last goal is a forest geared goal, and getting the last one is the most important one. So, and I do take that quail. So I was not wrong. I did want the quail. CG again takes 1 resource. Oof, feels bad to be CG. Jim takes 2 resources, and he's accumulating those points like we discussed earlier. This chickadee already at 6 points. It's quite a lot, and it's far from over. So now I'm going to gather some resources, probably largely to get 2 eggs, and then I can cap out my forest with. I don't know if I'll play that titmouse. I don't remember. Let's see. We'll see how it unfolds. The titmouse certainly is getting less and less powerful as the game goes on, since I will be doing less resource gathering. And as you get farther into the game, you want to think more and more about just accumulating points rather than accumulating resources and filling up spots. So get lucky again on my owl. Love to see that. And I do need to make sure that each of my cavity birds actually have an egg in order to get that goal. here we go. This is how I can see how many rounds are left. Yeah, it's this action cube here. Sheesh. I'm sure people were screaming at me as I could not find that. On to CG. He can play, there we go, gets a bird into the forest, and that's a good one too. Can get additional resources from that. So, very, very nice. Perhaps a little late, but a good addition. Jim gets some eggs. Why does Jim get eggs? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Jim was thinking. I question that decision. So given there are still 2 actions after this one, I do decide to play the titmouse, and then I'm sure I will just go resource, because I need to fill up the eggs on my cavity nests, and nobody else should be able to compete with my cavity nests. Jim's 1 behind, so 3 to my 4. I guess that is one really good reason to play the titmouse, is that I do want to win this goal, because that's a 3-point swing, which is quite big. So I guess 6-point overall, because it's 3 less for Jim and 3 more for me, assuming Jim will be my main competitor this game. And I believe that he will. CG gets some more resources. Good for CG. Jim also grabbing some food. Keeps piling up that chickadee. And now, yeah, like I said, I think the rest of this round is going to be exactly what we expect, which is me doing 2 more food gathering actions. Want to make sure that there's always a grain in the pool for my woodpecker whenever possible. And get those 2 eggs for my cavity nests. CG draws cards. Fortunately, nothing too important is coming up on the draw pile, because I do not plan on drawing cards the rest of this round, and they will get refreshed after. Jim does play. Okay, it's not a cavity nest, so we don't need to worry about it, but Jim has hit that 3 food threshold just like I have. However, his 3 food threshold is coming with much worse powers than mine. Every single one of my birds is doing something relevant. Only 2 of his are, and 1 of them is symmetric. So, really not that great in comparison. Get to have my woodpecker go off again. Can we get lucky with the owl? No. Okay. Oh well. And then fill up my last 2 cavity nests, and so that will mean that I am the goal winner for this round, with nobody able to catch up. All right, end of the second round. Moving into the third. Nothing here looking too exciting. My forest almost full. And so really, I think my goal at this point is to start filling up my grassland, because that is how I'm going to be getting points this game. So there we go. Jim uses his symmetrical draw power. I think I think to myself, I need that whooping crane, and I might even take the hooded merganser as well. Because it's 5 points with 4 egg slots, which is much better than this mallard. And so I can play both of these water birds to hit my goal while getting much more efficient points than playing the duck would be. So that is exactly what I do. And I think that means that I have everything in my hand for the rest of the game. I'm fairly certain I do not draw cards the rest of this game. I have a plan, right? These are the cards in my hand. I want to play all of them. And hopefully that's enough to win, and then I can egg out for the rest of the game, because I will have a lot of egg slots to fill. So CG getting some more resources. I think CG is just a little bit slow this game. Kind of a fast start, but not a lot of staying power. Jim does get that bald eagle, and you got those fish early, which lets him set up for finding a bald eagle, or the other one's like The name is escaping me. It starts with a P. It's another water bird that costs 3 fish, but anyway. Chooses to skip the draw this time. I would maybe have done it. Given I have such a surplus of resources, drawing an extra card is better for him than it is for me. But anyway. All right, so we'll see if follow through with the plan I suggested. Yep, play Whooping Crane. The good thing about playing this one now, I have a lot. Yeah, so I have 9 resources. Is that enough to play everything? I think it is. No, it's no, because I'm not playing this. So 3, 6, 8, 10. So I need one more resource. I don't know. We'll see. What do I have for my bonus cards? Birds with cavity nests. So I already have this one fulfilled. Birds with wingspans 30 centimeters or less. I don't think I have that one, so I'm sure I picked cavity nests here since it's literally already met. Yep. So that's already 4 points. So 10 points for 3 resources. Incredible. You'd love to see that. CG plays another forest bird, but I can't help but think it's too little too late. And then we've got Jim. Jim is taking some more food. We'll be able to play that bald eagle pretty soon for a lot of points. And so part of that is I do want to pay a little bit of attention to the bird feeder and make sure he can't get too many fish using the bald eagle's ability. And now I'm going to start stacking up my grassland. CG getting some more resources. Oh no, he's playing Bush Tit. Bush Tit is an excellent card early that kind of, well, it's a good card all game, but you need to have the hand to support it as well. Playing birds into your forest at this point in the game feels a little bit bad. Usually you want to put that Bush Tit in the grasslands if you're playing it later. But he kind of flip-flopped the game and played grasslands early and then forest late, which is really not what you want to be doing. Jim does get 2 fish off of that bald eagle, which is pretty nice. Huge point bomb from bald eagle. I continue filling up my grasslands, I assume. Yep, we play the woodcock. Not sure why I play that over the quail. Not sure that it really matters, honestly. So I have 2 actions left, so I'm probably going to play the quail and then do eggs so I can at least get 1 in for this round's goal, which I haven't talked about at all, but I think I'm just way behind in the goal, and sometimes you just got to accept that you're going to lose the goal. So CG's got a ton. Jim just got his second through the bald eagle, so it does look like I will be losing the goal, but there was no way for me to catch up for it, unfortunately. That's okay. Should be looking good for the last goal. Well, I guess I'm tied with Jim, but we will see. CG drawing. American crow, one of the strongest birds in the game to get early. Any birds that let you double dip in an action lane, extremely strong. So I think, yeah, I'll play another grasslands bird, I assume. Oh, no, we go for the hooded merganser. I wonder what my thought process is. Maybe I'm thinking that I don't play the quail and will just play this acorn woodpecker. Does that get me to? That gets me to 6. Oh, okay. Yep, that lets me hit the 6 threshold for this goal, which is a +3. And it also gets me the 5th bird for this final forest goal. So that I can see where that thought process came from. And so I can do four egg actions and then end on the acorn woodpecker is probably the rest of this game. I'm gonna go a little bit faster for the rest of the game since the plan is basically laid out, and I don't think anything can really change it. We pick eggs here just so we can get to that goal. That triggers CG's bird lair. He's got one of those that Triggers in response to somebody else laying eggs. CG gains some food. There are some strategies where you will kind of just continue to gain food throughout the whole game, and just play birds for most of your points, but most strategies want to end by just laying a bunch of eggs. That is kind of the most common default strategy in Wingspan. Maybe I've decided I'm going to do both. I'm going to both play this woodpecker, do another forest action, because my forest actions are actually scoring quite a few points as well, and then play the quail. We'll see. And then I can also discard food to get some extra eggs, since I'll only be at 3 in my grasslands. That makes quite a bit of sense. Jim takes some more food. Let's see what Jim can do with all this food. He already played his bald eagle. Does he have some other bomb that he can play to catch up a bit? Oh, yeah. Or did he undo his turn? Oh, no. He's just cashing on his mountain chickadee. What's the chickadee at? 9. That is a beefy chickadee. 11 points, 1 food. It's crazy. Yeah, so now I think I'm going to start caching. Yep, because I do not need this food anymore. I also probably should have discarded Mallard, because I don't think there's any way I'm playing Mallard, and the discard for Mallard would turn into an additional egg. So that might actually be a misstep on my part, unless I'm planning on doing more food actions. There is a point at which your engine in one category is so stacked that it actually gives you more points than eggs. I don't think I'm at that point though. I'm getting, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, maybe I am at that point. I'm getting 5 to 6 for forest, and I'm getting 4 for grasslands. But once I play quail, that bumps me up to 6 for grasslands. And the owl points are a question mark. But the actual playing of the quail is also a turn where I'm getting less points because it's only a net 2, since I'm also discarding an egg. I think I might just do the forest action for the rest of the game, if I remember right. Is that real? Nope, I don't. I don't know if I calculated this out and did something different in my math than I'm doing right now, or if it's just a misstep. I guess the one thing to keep in mind about the woodpecker is I'm also giving my opponents eggs, and so I need to net -1 out of that. I also just might have been being lazy because I need to wait for my opponents to do woodpecker, which is kind of a pain. I believe I played this game prior to the update where people could configure where they want their eggs to go for in-between turn actions, but that was a bit of a pain for turn-based games. All right, so now I'm definitely going to egg out the rest of the game. As you can see, if I discarded my mallard, I would be getting a bonus egg, so that was certainly a mistake, and I should have taken that extra food, which would then turn into a point because of the extra egg as a result. So not too much to say about the rest of the game. CG lays some more eggs, discards a food to get an extra egg. Definitely what you want to be doing at the end of the game. Eggs are points, food are not points. Jim took that early catbird, and it's not paying off. This is not a good card unless you can get something else that makes points in its row, and he did not get something. So interesting. I don't know if he missed an opportunity somewhere. You know, either of these cards, Barn Swallow, American Robin, these are both incredibly good cards. Tuck draw ability is extremely strong, but you really want to get them early. They're Not so great in the last round, unless you're picking them on like the first action. You can get 4 uses out of them. Probably 4 or 5 uses is really minimum that you want to be getting for them to be worth the time to play. Minimum. Typically you want more. So I will be tying the goal with Jim. Where am I at on points? 77 to 71. So this game's definitely coming down to the bonus cards, right? I mean, this is the big X factor in Wingspan is we do not know what our opponents have for bonus cards. I'm feeling okay about mine. 10 points is kind of average-ish. You kind of expect one of them to be worth max and the other one to be worth the medium. So 10 points for 2 cards is okay. I mean, it's good that I've got a little bit of a lead on Jim in terms of raw points, 77 to, but you know, he's catching up now, right? So got 3 more eggs, and now I only have a 3-point lead, and we're going to tie for the goal. So really, it all comes down to the bonus cards. Let's see. $10 points for me, like I said. 12 for end around, pretty solid. Less eggs than usual. Usually I really lean into eggs in the last round, and this game that didn't quite come together as much as usual. Like we talked about kind of throughout the game, CG was a bit slow. Took a lot of expensive forest actions. So very inefficient action economy there. Needed to get some more forest birds early. And then Jim, very close. Let's see what he has. So he's got the per habitat. Only gets 4 from that. And then wilds, also only 4. These two can be big scorers if you've got a setup like this. This one's almost guaranteed 6. I think I pick ecologist almost every time I see it. So in the end of the game, I do come out ahead, 5 points. If Jim had a little bit better on his bonus cards, could have been a different game. But love to see a close one. GG's, guys. Hope you enjoyed something. Hope you learned something. And yeah, GG's.